Is welcome to Breakfast Central, bright and early, and the trio are back on the air to bring to you all the latest happenings, especially from the weekend. 24 hours, 48 hours, or 72 hours back. A lot has happened from the bombing in Borno and the counterclaims, not forgetting to the big one that has gotten Nigerians talking ahead of the 2027 elections. Don't let me spill the beans yet, because we have every single detail for you. My name is Joe Hansen, and I'm saying bonjour, welcome, bienvenue, et cabo. Olive, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. When you said your name is Joe, I thought you were going to say Joash Amiupitan. No, it's great to know that you are Joe Hansen. Joe Hansen. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. Well, Joe is not the center of the news. He's not at the center of the news. This week, it would seem that Professor Joash Amiupitan and the entire INEC is subject to intense scrutiny on social media, as several tweets alleging support with the current ruling party have emerged and gone viral, and then the criticism has arisen. Honestly, I can't wait to go into the details of the story. It's quite a funny one, but we'll be looking into it in depth shortly. My name is Olive Emodi, and the show continues in a moment, but not before the man who likes to link different countries and continents to each other introduces himself. Hello, Benga. Where are you joining us from today?
Thank you, Olive. I see you're still in the spirit of Easter, where things are rising, are rosing, and are reason. But we start off on a not too exciting note, because the peace talks, Nigerians and people all around the world have been groaning about the high cost of energy, and that seems not to be abating following the collapse of peace talks in Islamabad. The Iranian and American delegation left without reaching a deal. And in the wake of that, President Donald Trump has decided to impose a blockade on a blockade. He says the United States Navy will not allow people to pay illegal tolls in the Straits of Hormuz. Therefore, the finest navy in the whole world, the United States Navy, is going to blockade the Straits of Hormuz. We'll see how the markets react to that when they open in a few minutes' time. And also, Mr. President of the United States of America is picking a fight with Pope Leo. Pope Leo said he didn't mention anybody's name. He just said he doesn't like a world where people are fighting and using God's name to fight. And Donald Trump thought he was talking to him. So he went on Truth Post and made disparaging post about Pope Leo, and you know, it was highly critical. Many world leaders have condemned it. And it reminds me, I would just ask President Donald Trump to read his history and read about Julian the Apostate and see what happened to Julian the Apostate when he challenged the authority when he compared himself to God. Because in that, just shortly after those disparaging posts on Truth Post, President Donald Trump posted an image of him in a Christ-like manner, projecting himself to be Jesus Christ. But we'll look at all this and more during the course of today's program. You're welcome. I am Benga Borowa, reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. Every other country and continent should connect to the source. They should align with us in Lagos.
Thank you very much.
The bell has a ring.
And before we get into the details of the story, let's also say a very special good morning to our virtual audience joining us from around the world, from wherever you're joining. Let's see your comments in the chat box.
Places
Tell us
like where?
Places like
Straits of Hormuz.
They're probably joining us from there. Okay. We want to see your comments in the chat box. Let us know your name and where you're watching from. But let's get into the conversation that I had teased earlier. It appears that artificial intelligence has now found its way into Nigeria's political drama. And this time, it's stirring questions at the very heart of the Independent National Electoral Commission and its actual independence. The electoral body is facing renewed scrutiny following a controversy linking its chairman, Professor Joash Amiupitan, to an alleged Partisan X account. The role was triggered after an AI tool, Grok, reportedly traced the origin of a now altered account to a username bearing his name, despite the Commission's firm denial of any such affiliation. The development has ignited a storm of reactions, with many Nigerians questioning the neutrality of the electoral umpire, while others urge caution over the growing reliance on AI for verification. Now, beyond the claims and counterclaims, The bigger question linkers, when technology enters the political arena, where does truth and perception begin? So let's get into the details. We have some tweets that help to tell the story, and let's see exactly what happened with that. So the thing was that sometime in March 2023, right? There was a tweet linking an account that Grok has now said was Professor Joash Amiupitan's account. It was pre his INEC appointment. It was pre the elections. Now let's pause here. This was March 2023, where Dayo Israel, the APC youth leader, had put out a tweet saying, "Today I rejoice not just for delivering my polling unit, but for winning 7 of the 10 polling units in my nearby Igbo-dominated community where APC have never won. They always vote opposition, but this time I sat with the youth of the community and forged a relationship. Today, blah, 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 blah," and it continues. Then the said Professor Joash Amiupitan's account replies, "Victory is sure." This was March 2023, and these tweets remained dormant for years. Nobody really paid any attention to it. But sometime in April 2023, again, there was another tweet on a post. It was a Tinubu support group on X celebrating Tinubu's return to Abuja after vacation. And I think the Professor Joash Amiupitan's account was quoted to have tweeted Ashiwaju in the comment section. Now, this tweet went viral. And of course, Nigerians are drawing parallels, saying, how can the chairman of INEC be a supporter of the ruling APC? That in itself takes away from the independence of the Independent National Electoral Commission. The first word there is independent.
The I in the INEC.
In INEC, taking out and
independent, no ice cream. Yes.
Well, this, after the much criticism that came, INEC boss, of course, denied this, and reports have it that that account was quietly altered on the 10th of April to a parody name called Sunday Vibe 00. Sunday Vibe 00 that was rebranded into a parody account. Now, to verify this, a number of ex-users did some FBI, CIA work, and in the course of their investigation, they asked Grok about the account. And one of them was Bashir Ahmed, who, this is Quimby. Quimby, first of all, asked, "Hey, Grok, has this account, Joash Amiupitan, ever existed on X? And if yes, when was the name changed?" Grok goes on to reply, says, "Yes, the account Joash Amiupitan existed on X. It belongs to Professor Joash Ojo Amiupitan, current INEC chairman." And then put the account ID. It was created September 2022. He changed the username to Sunday Vibe 00 today, now protected and labeled parody account after 2023 pro-APC post resurfaced. X username history is verifiable via the account ID. Now, to maybe cast aspersion as to the integrity of this, Bashir Ahmed went and asked Grok again. He changed the way in which he asked the question, and Grok doubled down on its response, still insisting that the accounts belonged to the INEC chairman, almost like scoring a home goal, own goal, whichever one you want to call it. And today, this has caused many Nigerians to go on social media and ask that Professor Joash Amiupitan must resign. The ADC has spoken about this. Many political figures, as well as generally Nigerians, have called for the resignation of Professor Joash Amiupitan. INEC put out a statement to which said the attention of the office of the chairman of INEC has been drawn to a malicious and coordinated campaign of calumny circulating on social media. The false claim alleges that the INEC chairman, Professor Joash Amiupitan, SEN, has in the past endorsed a partisan post on the platform X, formerly Twitter. The Commission wishes to state categorically that this allegation is entirely baseless, a total fabrication and a figment of the imagination of its purveyors. For the avoidance of doubt, the INEC chairman does not own or operate any personal account on X. He has at no time engaged in partisan commentary, nor has he ever associated himself with any political leaning or activity in his private or public capacity. This controversial X post is a desperate attempt to impugn the integrity and neutrality of the chairman at a critical period when the Commission is focused on significant electoral reforms and preparations for upcoming polls. It's a needless distraction designed to stir public distrust in the electoral umpire. And they go ahead to say, let it be clearly understood. Okay, let's not take all of that. But you get the message that they're trying to, connect. They're trying to link that too. And the video of that interview was one where he was saying how he found out stuff on social media. All sorts of analysis have come up with those saying, why would it be said that this is a parody account? Why was a parody account or an account attempting to impersonate the INEC chairman created as far back as 2022 when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was not even present, meaning that it could not have been foreseen at that time that the INEC chairman would have been INEC chairman. So how do you say that he was impersonated?
Into the future.
Exactly. How do you say that that account was an impersonation when Grok, which is the AI tool created to verify this kind of information, has clearly said that this account existed since 2022? So who was Professor Joash Amiupitan in the grand scheme of Nigeria's politics at the time that he needed to be impersonated? Gentlemen?
There's a lot to look into in this case, being Olive, and I'm sure our viewers. The weekend was indeed hot on X. While this was going on, we also had the Airstrike issues. Everyone was trying to align, but guess what? Everyone just had to focus on Joash Amiupitan. I've also noticed a trend, so far so good. We've noticed that while this is happening, some political bigwigs have decided to just turn their face aside and not comment on this issue. And mostly they are members of the APC. I was expecting more from them, that they will come out with a lot of, statements, making clear terms that this is either this should be taken to the court, this should be looked into, but everyone has been quiet. But let me mention here quickly, Olive, you've broken everything down. There is no way that, I always say this, you can defeat the Gen Zs on tech. There is no way. Take my words to the bank. There's no way you can defeat the tech giants. Now, this is allegedly, let's make it clear, but if you connect the dots, it's enough for Nigerians to ask the INEC boss to actually come out in clear terms and address the issues. And what do I mean? There's an IMEI number, a 15-digit code that is synonymous to everybody's mobile device. Your mobile phone has an IMEI, mine has, everyone has. And that's actually the International Mobile Equipment, what's it called again? IMEI, International Mobile Equipment, what's that final word? Identity. Identity. International Mobile Equipment Identity. I mean, oh goodness, I studied computer science, I used to remember all of this and all that. Anyway, when you have your mobile devices, you have all these numbers. And when you have that, when they traced it, they found out that all of that, in terms of registration, it came from that particular number. They've also been able to trace the phone number linking to that account, which has changed to Sunday Vibes and then to Parody. But
so there's a paper trail. There's a technology trail.
Now, that's not all, Binga. The biggest worry is that in all of these trails, the email address and the phone number have been consistent. Now, the techie gurus online have decided to use different apps to go as far as even checking this number and email linked to Professor Josh's company, CAC.
They
also linked to his account.
They got a letterhead, his company's letterhead, and then they highlighted some of the...
I want to ask a question. I mean, this is actually in public space. But I want to ask a question. The question is this. We all have what is called two-factor authentication, okay? There is no way you can register an account without a phone number. So there's a lot of questions out there.
And everything keeps pointing
everything keeps pointing. And let me say this. Grok, if you're a politician and you think Grok is a Nigerian, you are wrong.
Grok
is an AI assistant, artificial intelligence assistant, that has a backlog of information that you as a human cannot have because it pulls all the resources from the social media and from the internet space. Above all of that, it also does so much more. So this is a conversation that is very interesting, I must say.
It is very interesting. I think that the angles to look at it from is, first of all, the fact that the alleged account immediately went on lockdown, became private, that's very suspicious because if you have nothing to hide, why is the account going private, and why is it, why did they have to change the name if really there was nothing to hide there? There's also, I mean, INEC coming out to say we're maintaining our position can be an argument that is structurally weak. There have been chains of accusations made. It's not just that the handle was changed. They're linking the phone number to his accounts, his bank accounts, linking the email addresses. There are lots of things that need debunking. And these are not just allegations that should be thrown around in the air, because that is a very sensitive position. This is a single body that is largely determines the freeness and the fairness of our democracy. And I think the final thing for me here is we cannot miss the bigger picture, which is the constitutional defect that allows the president to appoint the INEC chairman. If this were not a case in point, we wouldn't have been able to, I'm not sure that we would have seen this level of reaction that casts, aspersions to his integrity and his credibility. But we will come to continue this conversation. We'll take reactions on YouTube. I will take reactions on X. But we do have a very important conversation that we need to touch on very quickly in a moment, Joe.
Yeah. Let's just look at the other story that's also making headlines. That happened over the weekend. There were indications that there was a bombing that took place in the northern part of Nigeria, Borno State to be precise. And
Yobe State.
Yobe State as well. And the Borno market, there's a market as well. There were indications that, casualties were recorded. There were also indications that, a lot of persons are passing out fake information and so on. But we have our man who's on ground this morning. That's what we do here on Breakfast Central or News Central. Umaru Kirawa is our reporter who's always there for us, especially covering the Borno State area. With the heightened insecurity. Good morning to you, Kirawa. Thanks for joining us this morning and breaking into wake-up conversations. Give us an update into what's really happening. We do hear 30 persons, some people say 50, allegedly feared dead at Borno-Yobe border market. Just this morning, I stumbled on a story that the governor had said that that market had been closed in the past 5 years, and NAF was indeed right to have bombed that area. So give us a clearer picture on what the situation really is.
I am at the State Specialist Hospital, Maiduguri, where some of the survivors of the airstrike are receiving medical care. With regard to the issue of the figures, some say 50, some say 100, some say 200, but there is still no official figure with regard to the number of persons that died due to the airstrike that occurred in Benin, where so many people lost their lives and so many people been injured in various degrees. If you see behind me, you'll see that the door there is locked, and it's locked because there is an ongoing medical checkup in these more early hours. And if you see behind me, you'll see these are some of the families of the survivors of the explosion that took place. We spoke to some of them earlier, and some of them told us that, in fact, the market has been there for over 150 years, and people are going about their normal trade of buying and selling. And unfortunately, they say this incident happened, and what pained them most is that nobody came to sympathize with them. Nobody came to sympathize with their plight, but they are happy that they are receiving treatment freely at the various hospitals, at the State Specialist Hospital here in Maiduguri, at the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, and of course in Gaidam, where some of the survivors are receiving medical care. We'll try to speak with some of the families here who possibly might speak to us. So, yo ai andalo pulu min kala am do nalan dana kiji bandai I know how to work it. Go come I will I will okay. So this man said he just came in the early hours just now. He came to sympathize with his loved one. Unfortunately, he has nothing to say. So we will try another persons who might speak to us here. So, by I am going to move in our person and that.
za mu daga nan mu roki Allah ne Allah ya gafarta mana Allah ya ba mu saukin abin da ya zo ya same mu.
Okay. To bayan nan kuma ya majinyatan suke ciki yanzu a haka?
Dan rashi da ya kawo mana da yawa. Sai za mu ce da Allah ya ba mu mafitan shi.
Okay. Dama kasuwan naku dama ana ci kamar shekara nawa ne yanzu a haka? Okay. Sunanka mene? Okay. So this man could not express himself very well, but he said it's destiny. It's something that has happened and they cannot change it. I asked his name. He said we should just leave it. So we just left it like that because of the situation they find themselves. But largely, if you see behind me, these are some of the families of the affected victims of the Jili airstrike.
Okay, Kirawa, can you also confirm to us, I mean, there are talks around the Jili market. Are you saying to us this morning, because there are contradicting reports, so I want us to clarify because of our viewers, are you saying that there were victims that were affected in the strike? Can we confirm that there were victims? Because right now, like you said, there's a door behind you. We cannot really pin a number to the persons who have been affected. But can you confirm to us that there were victims? Because the contradicting report says that there were no victims. Rather, the casualties happened to be the terrorists and those who used that Jili market area to store their weapons and so on. We do have footage we'll be sharing later on the airstrikes. But can you confirm to us that there were victims so that we can really confirm that story and the report?
Well, largely some of the people that I spoke with them, they said they are in the town, and that is in fact where their forefathers were born, and they are doing businesses, and that is where they are. And largely in the morning, some of them could not speak to me. Some of them are shy of speaking on camera. They could not speak. I can't really tell whether it's a victim or a terrorist. All we know that we are having survivors here at the State Specialist Hospital who are receiving medical care, and they are survivors of the airstrike that took place in Jili community, and they are complaining bitterly. Some of them who spoke to me told me that what pained them most is that government representatives or government officials are not coming to sympathize with them, to tell them that they should take this as destiny and they should support them. Basically, that is what pained them most.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Umaru Kirawa, for this report. Well, just in case you're wondering where our reporter is, well, he's at the medical center following the NAF strikes over the weekend, which many have said have claimed lives of individuals and non-terrorists, as it were. But he's just trying to confirm that story for us, and we can see that there are people who are hospitalized. So it's obviously a clear indication that civilians were equally affected in that airstrike. But thank you, Umaru Kirawa. We'll get back to you to get more information. Just so I like this to our viewers as well, that this is not the first time that we're having airstrikes that will affect, accidental airstrikes that would affect the lives of civilians. In 2025 in Zamfara State, we did have at least 16 civilians and members of local vigilante group were actually killed in Zumi local government area. In Sokoto in 2024, this also happened. And then we saw nothing more than 10 villages, especially during Christmas, if you recall. And in Kaduna in 2025, a drone strike in Tudunbiri village killed at least 85 people. And in 2023, we also had the same, this time in Nasarawa and Benue border. And if you run down, you'd see so many other airstrikes, especially in Borno State, April 2020 and then 2017. And then we have this one, which has generated mixed reactions on social media space. The argument, guys, is that NAF put out a statement, the Nigerian Army put out a statement on X, and there was nowhere where it was mentioned that civilians were actually affected. And also
Governor Umaru Babagana Zulum, the governor, did say that they had closed the Jili market. I think you mentioned something to that effect
5 years
about 5 years ago. So the government's position is that those who were struck were not supposed to be there, and the place is famous for harboring terrorist elements, so they're doubling down on it. And the Nigerian Air Force also. In the statement they released, they said airstrikes were carried out against terrorist elements, and they didn't mention anything about civilian casualties or innocents caught in the crossfire. So
it's
that's
really
the
sad,
official
honestly.
position of the Nigerian army. But there you heard it from Umaru Kira that there's been people that have gone to the hospital for treatment. And I mean, if they're terrorists, you have military operatives and policemen and law enforcement agents trying to secure the area and prevent them from, or securing so that even after treatment, they'll be arrested. So conflicting reports.
Real conflicting reports. At the end of the day, it's Nigerian citizens, that would have to bear the brunt. Our hearts are with those who have lost loved ones, and we'll bring more updates. We're talking about the story in depth much later in the show. But now returning to the earlier story we started out with, talking about the discrepancy between the statement that Professor Joash Amiupitan and the INEC have given, as well as and then the ones that the Nigerians have dug out on social media. Another person caught in the crossfire is the chairman of NIDCOM, Abike Dabiri Erewa. Now, she had posted a video of herself when she went to Silicon Valley and said she had met some talented and professional Nigerians. And she had herself experiencing the self-driving car that was about a 40-minute ride. Where
Driverless.
Driverless car, self-drive car. Where she said she had been in she went on this ride for about 40 minutes. And that was where the backlash started, with Nigerians criticizing her and saying, ordinary real-time transmission your country cannot do, but you're going to a country where the benefits are immense and experiencing it there, while you can't, that is not happening in your own country. And in the heat of all that backlash, there was a lot of, some words were used that were not, the best that many would criticize, right? But there was a particular post that Barrister Street had put out on X, and he said, expose NIDCOM boss Abike Dabiri Erewa's vulgar social media meltdown undermines Nigeria's global image. He says, her posts in April 2026 have drawn particular attention. In one instance, she wrote, Obingo, Obidiot, widely seen as a jab at supporters of Peter Obi. In other exchanges, she referred to Nigerians as professional hackers, warped minds, and used terms such as Didirin, Dodoyo, and Mugu. This is not an isolated pattern. In June 2024, she described journalist Samuel Ogundikpe as useless, miserable, and pathetic, reinforcing concerns raised by Nigerians about her approach to public communication. And then they went down. The last paragraph said the issue remains clear. Public officials at this level are expected to communicate with restraint and professionalism, and Nigerians say repeated departures from that standard continue to raise serious questions about the country's global standing. In response to that tweet, she says, you are exposing yourself and your fellow obedience, toxic people, and I will repeat it again. These monsters will be Peter Obi's nemesis if he does not call them to order. Now, that fell right into the timing of the issue with Professor Joash Amiupitan and INEC, and of course, it was a volcanic eruption of molten magma on social media, with different people accusing her of being, one-sided, partisan, using derogatory language on Nigerians. And the reactions have been a lot. But we'll take comments on YouTube for this story, and then we'll head to X, and if we have some more time, come back to YouTube. On X, Mr. Johnson says, Joe has spoken for me. I don't have much to do this morning. The funny thing to me, personally, is Mrs. Dabiri has gone out of her way to attack the people that revealed this secret. So yes, it wasn't necessarily about this story. Hers was just a different story with wrong timing that now linked to the INEC story. Amiupitan is on a mission to amputate, in bracket, amputate democracy, as instructed by his paymaster. Mahmoud Yakubu is a learner where Amiupitan is. Una de right to Michael Obieku. Huh? Ochi Gerald Onyebuchi says, Professor Amiupitan, don't go look for Gen Z trouble. Michael Obieku says, for what? Okay, still speaking about that one. Annie Chinedu Brown says, there wouldn't have been anything wrong with Josh hailing the winner of the presidency. He's a Nigerian. But what made nonsense of the whole issue is his denial of being the owner of the account.
And then when you deny, you keep digging your own
graves.
pit. Yeah,
Exactly.
You keep digging and digging and digging because you can't build on the foundation of a lie.
Lies, yeah. He went on to say it raised the red flag of criminality. Like I always say, what is credibility when integrity is lost? If I were him, I would resign honorably. And then we have Nathan Emmanuel, who says, I think the mistake the INEC chairman made was denying the account. He could have owned it, but clarified that tweets can't make him an APC member. Mokunye Chukwemeka says, Abike fell off badly. She used to be the darling of the airwaves. I don't know if the people that support the APC don't think at all before speaking.
You know, my comment on Madam Abike Dadri, and it's not the first time she's doing this. If you're a public service, if you're a public office holder, you should be held to standards that are higher than those of ordinary people. And if you're in the business that exposes you to the media, you should be more circumspect in the sort of language you use. You should hold back. I mean, and this is not the first time. It means there are no consequences for what she's been doing in the past. Nobody has reined her in. That's why she feels she could get away with this. This is a very, very, very serious, these are very serious comments she's made for somebody holding a sort of office, an office that has to representing Nigerians in general, because there are many people that have tagged her a bigot because some of her posts seem to disparage one ethnic group and absolve the other. And then you go ahead and call people obingos and obidiots. I mean, it means you're not a neutral party anymore. If you have a problem with people, address them for who they are, address the individual. Why bring in a whole group of supporters of a presidential candidate and use such gutter language? Let's hope, because I know it's not going to happen. We've been here before. Nobody is going to call her and issue a query for her behavior, but she's representing Nigeria, and she's disgracing Nigeria by using those sorts of, that type of language.
Okay, let's head to X and take some reactions on X.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I don't know if we have time for our next story. How can a sitting president appoint the INEC chairman and yet call the agency independent, and we still expect a fair election? Make it make sense. He said Nigeria isn't a country. I'll keep saying this. We're just a failed British experiment. Now, wow. That's from Ijoba Chuks. But these are not our words. These are the words of Nigerians in their tweet online. If the INEC chairman is proven to be partisan, compromised, and corrupt enough to even attempt to lie and mislead the public, that he never owns an X account, when evidence shows he does, he must resign. INEC chairman must resign. INEC chairman must resign. INEC chairman must resign. I didn't say it. It is your favorite online doctor that said it. Nigerians cannot make him resign. We're embarrassingly so conflicted. He cannot be responsible or accountable enough to consider resigning. The National Assembly cannot make him. Tinubu would love him even more now. So who would make him resign? Dede Ngozi asks. And the next tweet we have says the idea that the president is responsible to appoint INEC chairman is the root problem here. The part of the constitution should be what we should be agitating to be expunged in its entirety. Because no president should have such powers and won't put someone loyal to him in that office. I think that's a good way to end this tweet, Kingsley edit. I think this tweet is the sum total of what the issue is here. If the president did not have the power to appoint the INEC chairman, we will not be where we are today. And that's something that must be looked at. That's an anomaly that must be fixed in our constitution. Independence, we must restore the independence in INEC. And we do that by ensuring that there's an independent way to get the INEC chairman.
We should have fought that battle before battle of real-time electronic transmission. It's also a legitimate battle, but step by step.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
Our producers are screaming at us.
Yeah, we have to.
Thank you for that.
Let's share what our headlines this morning are on Breakfast Central. And this morning on Breakfast Central, our top stories, we're looking at the accidental NAF airstrike that hit Borno-Yobe market. We did have our correspondent, Mari Kirawa, join us. We're looking at this in a broad. And we'll also be bringing you the update from the 2026 Benin presidential election. And we'll be looking at the agriculture sector challenges. Stakeholders prefer public-private partnership as solution. Niger's waste emergency, the hidden health cost of legal and illegal dump sites, is another conversation to take a look at. We'll be reviewing the front pages of the papers as we do every morning. Join us for all these and more.
weekend, Benin Republic went to the polls in a pivotal presidential election as over 7.8 million registered voters had the chance to choose a successor to President Patrice Talon, who steps down after 2 constitutional terms for the first time in 10 years. Patrice Talon's name isn't on the ballot, but make no mistake, his fingerprints are said to be everywhere in an election many have described as a high-stakes transition.
The spotlight in this election is firmly between Romuald Wadani, a long-serving Minister of Finance and the anointed successor of Patrice Talon, who appears to have the backing of the 2 heavyweights, the Progressive Union for Renewal UPR and Republican Bloc BR, while Paul Hunkwe of the FCBE is said to be positioning himself as the alternative choice for voters, who is said to have run a much more quiet campaign in the build-up to the elections. Joining us for this discussion is the African Affairs analyst, David Masanga. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, my people in the studios in Lagos. Good morning, Africa and the entire world.
All right.
Good morning, Dr. Masanga.
Good morning, Dr. Masanga. It's great to have you. We'll be joining our correspondent shortly, who's live in Benin, to bring us updates from the elections as well as how citizens are taking this. But part of the conversation with the election was that there was some form of low voter turnout and that there were restricted civil liberties. From your assessment, I know that you follow these stories and you follow the elections. What was a general assessment of the elections? And then speak to what you believe might be the credibility of the elections.
There was no election there. It's just a selection. That's it. What election can you have when you have formidable opposition leaders kicked out, removed from using flimsy reasons? The formidable ones are not on the ballot. You have just picked. What Talon has done is to pick the man he likes. 2, you remember this is a constitution of 7-year term, the beginning of the 7-year term. One good thing that I can give a credit is that he's not seeking to stand in this election. He's not seeking to take place in the next 7-year term election. That's okay. That's good. But he has just picked his own person. He's going to win. He's winning against himself anyway, because the other opponents are not on the ballot. This other young man who came in of 30 years, I don't think he will garner a lot. The Benin population is not as supercharged like the one of Senegal, which Faye and Sonko mobilized people, they rallied behind him. He hasn't done a lot of campaigns. He has been harassed. He has been intimidated. Therefore, this was not the election I expected. This is another one of those.
Dr. Masanga, going by African standards, and you also admitted that, Patrice Talon does deserve some credit for conducting elections and for not going for a 3rd term, because he had the ultimate excuse and a chance to extend his rule. Remember, there was a coup attempt against him just a few months ago before the Nigerian Armed Forces sent in troops to chase away the coup plotters and stabilize things. And even knowing that happened, he didn't extend the time of the election. He also didn't decide to go for a 3rd term, which seems to be the in thing when it comes to presidential elections in Africa, extending term limits constitutionally to give them more time. So doesn't he deserve some form of credit for conducting elections, regardless of if he hand-chose his successor?
I have given that credit already. I'm one of the few people in the world who balances my assessment and my criticism. This one, he has a credit that he's not seeking to run in the 7-term limit type of change of constitution. That's very good, and he has stepped aside. But remember, he's stepping aside, my brother, is because there was a coup that shocked him. If there was no coup, he was going for the 7th term. He was going to change the constitution that he comes back. Yes, but that coup that took place, that attempted coup, he got a shocker, and he knows that without Nigeria, Air Force coming in. He was gone. He was going to be in the streets like Dr. Matanga in his exile. And so, this is it. So that is a credit for him to have said, I've gone back, I can control the Nyerere. For those political scientists studying at the lower stage of political science, it's called the Nyerere factor. Nyerere factor. You go back and control the party from your house and lead the country and allow other people to go on. That is a credit I give him.
Okay, I mean, talking about the credit, let's look at the 7 years run. Do you think this, in a way, has moved the people of Benin Republic to, instill trust and belief in the system? And that's why we're seeing a different turn in terms of the outlook of the elections. Besides, I also want to ask your thoughts on what you make of the fact that all African nations might want to emulate Benin Republic in looking at a 7-year term. But let me get your thoughts on the outlook of the elections on the Beninois and also a look at a 7-year term for Africa.
Thanks very much for that question. You know, there are some countries whose GDP is about $500,000. Burundi, the GDP is about it's not even $1 billion, but it conducts elections every 5 years. Expensive elections. Before you are conducting a Benin economy, I think the GDP is not more than $1 billion. And why should it conduct every 5 years an election, which costs about 1.5 billion to conduct? What logic is there? 5 years, you bring another 2.5 billion to conduct an election. So a 7-year term is not bad in political science. It's stability. Accountability becomes more. You see the projects grow. And that's why you see most of the countries in Africa going for 7-year term. And say, there is nowhere in the Plateau Republic, anywhere in the political science, where it is told you to have 5 years, 4 years, or 3 years, or whatever. People just copy the American style or British style. So Africa needs to reinvent itself. This 7-year term can give stability, can give sustainability, it can give every accountability. You can be accounted for. Then you don't have you are not hungry for power to come back. Therefore, it saves the population. It stops politicking. There are some countries in Africa, my dear sisters and brothers, there are some countries that have politicking from day one when the other election got finished. They are there, politicking, talking on rooftop, everywhere. They are creating insecurity amongst their own citizens. So the 7-year term is a peaceful. Constitutions are dynamic. A constitution is not a Quran. A constitution is not a Bible. Constitutions can be changed. I saw you complaining in the other clip of an independent electoral commission. Nigeria's constitution itself needs to be changed such that you give powers to the selecting panel, which is not the president, who can hire and fire the chairman, like the professor, my colleague professor, we used to teach it together, somewhere in London, powers to rig an election. This lady is also going to rig an election. So you need to change your constitution in Nigeria also. So constitutionalism is on movement in Africa. That is one side. The other side is it creates stability. The other one is that some of the countries don't have enough money to hold the elections. They borrow money to hold the elections and keep us in perpetual poverty. Every 5 years you are holding election. Useless. You don't give us the results. Where are the results in your government now? You are still crying. And you are about to go to another election. Why don't you give the person time and then ask them, after 7 years, go home. Don't come back. You have not done the roads. Roads don't take 7 years to grow. Schools don't take 7 years to grow. You have to grow them in 7 years. You have to tell the person that looks behind 3 years I did everything, and here you are, I hand you over your Nigeria or your Benin. That is the way I think about the longer term of limits in 7 years instead of 5 years, where we have copied the American or British system, which is shallow at times to Africans, because we are not yet people who can, we call each other names. Look at that lady is calling people obese people, idiots. He's calling them so many names because we don't know what democracy is. We don't know what elections are. That's the Africa we have.
But if I hear you correctly, you're arguing for a 7-year tenure for elected officers or elected officials. The fear that many people express when they hear of a tenure that long is the fact that it gives enough time that if perchance the election or the quality of the election is not one that they can consider free and fair, that means they are stuck with the same person for 7 years. So what will need to be done, or what mechanisms will need to be put in place to ensure that, one, if you have the wrong person, they're kicked out, or
they're underperforming.
Yeah, that they're underperforming. And how can you ensure that 7 years is not just one that you have someone who's there exploiting and extorting the citizens?
Institutions. We don't have institutions in Africa working. For example, Mr. Tinubu is just waking up today, only to realize he's appointing ambassadors, some of them who are already in problems. You see that type of institution, who vetted these ambassadors? You see, institutions must work. The corruption, the type of corruption, if you are put there anti-corruption body in Nigeria, let it arrest people. Let it arrest people, or Benin, arrest people, put them in jail. Yes, as a deterrent. Don't say this was my OB in the university. We shared this dormitory. We ate food here with him while we are suffering. No. Institutions in Africa must begin to bite. And a man who has been given money to construct a road, if the road is not there, jail. If the road is not there, go to jail. So institutions will check in these 7 years. We must have strong institutions that must check on people, such that if we find you, cabinets resign. How many people in governments in Africa resign? How many? A mass, and I say we have failed. How many? In places like London, UK, where we are, if a train knocks another train, the Minister of Transport resigns. The Minister of Defense resigns if the Air Force went and hit people in the market. In your own place, he should have resigned. That general there, he should have gone. He should have resigned by now. Because you have killed 30 people. They're not going to come back.
Okay.
So we need institutions on the African continent to perform, to work. If institutions don't work in Africa, then we are wasting our time. 2, what type of democracy are we looking for, my sister? Are you looking for this one man, one vote in Africa? It can't work. Hello? It won't work. And I speak my mind, I tell you, because it challenged me way to, apart from Ghana, South Africa, Liberia, Senegal. It doesn't work elsewhere. People beat each other. There's no a country in Africa of one man, one vote without balancing the style of South African model or Ghanaian model where everybody has not fallen. Show me.
Botswana. Botswana.
All the elections.
Now, Dr. Matsanga, if I may come in here, you've mentioned something quite instructive. When my colleague asked about the quality of the democracy, you talked about institutions. It was Barack Obama that said Africa needs strong institutions, not strong men. And that brings me to, permit me to move away from Benin Republic for a bit before we come back, since we're discussing the context of democracy in Africa. In the country of Djibouti, a tiny country very close to you there in Uganda, in the Horn of Africa, Djibouti's president over this weekend won elections that the president of North Korea would be proud of. Yes, he won an unprecedented 6th term by winning 97.8% of the vote. And world leaders are congratulating him. The African Union is congratulating him. Is Djibouti a democracy? That's my simple question.
No. Look, 40 years ago, China was the poorest country on the planet Earth. It went back to a drawing table. That's why I called you. I told you 1 man, 1 vote does not work. It doesn't work. The worst part of your place, let me give you an example of Nigeria. You go to universal suffrage. I was there during Tinubu's elections as an independent, quietly. You people didn't see me. I disagreed with the report. You had 96 million people. Only 26 voted. The rest went to Atlantic Ocean and they were hiding under the ocean like the astronauts who have arrived going down. Now they have arrived back. 68 million people did not vote in Nigeria. Is that an election? Tinubu was elected by total of 26 million people out of 94 million registered voters. Is that an election? No. Come to this 97%, this one, that one. Let me tell you, it calls for change of governance, systems of governance. For example, in your country, you need constitutional reforms, strong constitutional reforms to keep Nigeria together. My sister there lamented, it said, which someone there wrote, it said, is there a country here left? When you hear a person of this nature, or a chairperson of the Electoral Commission running around with briefcases and handbags in the other countries imposing herself on people, will this one ever give you good results? No, prepare for war. We have a problem in Africa. Djibouti is a colony. It's not a country. It's colonized. What is the GDP of Djibouti? If you remove the bases, military bases of America, France, China, it is that Djibouti is no state. It's the most useless state on the continent of Africa. So, if you ask me whether that was democracy or not, it wasn't. At least in my country, I want to be honest. And I know you are going to fire me about President Museveni winning the percentage. It's because one of the problems that we have in the opposition in Africa are weak opposition. They depend on NGOs of George Soros. Benga, you and I, we have been discussing the extent of damage of George Soros' regime change mechanism in Africa. Bob Wine looks for money from America. He's now in a holiday eating sausage. He has left us to be locked up in cells in Uganda. Ugandan people, opposition who voted them are without leadership. He's gone. He's gone. And he was taken away by the American. The following day he voted. Then he lied to them. This type of lying opposition that lies, that tells lies to its wrong people. Yet people have a problem. It's not worth it. The younger generation who want to take power, for me, Dr. Matsanga, God will call me. I'm over the 70th decade. God will call me soon if he has a timetable for me. I have done my bit. But the younger generation like you who are coming from, who want to take power, don't rely on foreign funding. Rely on your own people. Don't rely on NGO handouts from outside to call for sanctions to these member countries. That is my advice. That is why you see the 97% point something, 99 point, because most of the NGOs, political party, opposition parties in Africa rely on money from America, which is also a transactional democracy of this gentleman called this mad guy of the Atlantic Ocean. I don't fear him because I don't need a visa to go to America. I have a better passport to stay where I am.
All right, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you so much for your time. I wish you could go on. And just to add that...
yes, get me time, my sister, and ask me questions. I'm ready. I am the only African who tells Trump nothing, you do nothing. I don't need your coming to America. I have a better passport than the American passport. I can go anywhere. If you don't want me to come, fine. But you can't kill people in the world everywhere like that. Nowhere. No.
Just to clarify, what passport do you have?
The what? Don't worry. It's between me and the immigration officer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matanga.
I know Tunubu will not, once he sees me, he can check when I arrive at that Mutara airport, somewhere there. But for me, I'm talking the truth. Africa needs to change. Nigeria is a big country with 250 million people. But you are teaching us bad manners every time. You are the people causing us problems on the continent of Africa.
All right.
Your population
Thank you so much.
We should be using you as an example. But you teach us bad manners all the time. Tunubu should change. He should allow constitutional arrangement. You younger people need this country in the future. For us, we are going to planet heaven or hell. Please, let him hear me. There's nothing he can do to me. I am old.
Thank you, Dr. Masanga. Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll try as much as possible to arrange for fuller time. Yes, we'll work on that. Maybe I think 2 hours will be enough. Thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us, by the way.
Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
So many questions.
Dr. Matanga was very passionate about African affairs. And just to add that Djibouti's president, Ismail Omar Guelleh, that just won a 6th term with 98% of the vote, has been president for 27 years.
He was born to be a president. Yes. It is his path in life.
He was born to do it.
It is inheritance.
I wonder whether it's Craig David, born to do it.
Wow. That's true.
We'll go on. Let's talk what's coming up next here on Breakfast Central, on News Central this morning. Coming up next, accidental nav airstrike hits Borno-Yobe market. We'll look at that. Our reporter joined us earlier. Would have a relook of what was said. Nigeria's waste emergency, the hidden health cost of legal and illegal dump sites. And Kogi Airport project, state government flags off connected access roads. Stay with us. More details here on Breakfast Central.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. After that very short break, Nigeria's electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, over the weekend came under intense scrutiny as Chairman Professor Joash Amiupitan is accused of partisan bias, with forensic evidence linking him to a political social media account despite official denials by the Commission. Public pressure is mounting for his resignation, raising questions about the integrity of Nigeria's electoral process. Joining us this morning to discuss the implications of this credibility crisis, what it means for the elections, and INEC is a fintech and tech analyst, Fisayo Durojaye. A warm welcome to you, Fisayo, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Now, Fisayo, what do you make of everything we saw over the weekend? The account, the denials. Could you give us a tech trail of what happened and what is really going on?
Yes.
And how are we sure that that account belongs to Professor Joash Amiupitan? What are the telltale signs?
Yes. So first, I would like to say that I think the initial tweet that brought us this issue was done in 2022. And I think that at the time, Professor Amiupitan is a private citizen. And I think that I can tweet whatever I want to tweet. I guess the biggest problem was when it was being appointed as the electoral umpire is meant to be seen, is meant to be unbiased and seen as unbiased, right? Both ingredients are required in making, this electoral commission head, do his work properly. But from what we've seen, right, and of course the coordinated, coordinated communication between from the office of the president and of course with INEC and the denials, and of course people just asking, say XAI's, Grok, to say, is this account linked? Are the names changed? And all of those details help see that yes, the same person that owns the initial account that tweeted, victory is sure or something like that, is the same person that is now the INEC chairman, based on the information we see on XA or on Twitter, as it were.
Okay, so another thing is to speak to, as a tech expert, I'm not the expert here, but INEC has said, and INEC had criticized the statement saying, of course, that Professor Joash Amiupitan did not own the X account. However, they had used Grok to investigate, and Grok said that the account that eventually became Sunday Vibes 00 and also became another name that I think Paquiano something, I'm not quite sure what
Parody
it was.
acquire.
Yeah, whatever the parody account name became, that was actually Professor Joash Amiupitan's account from 2022. That was the original name, Professor Joash Amiupitan. Is there a possibility that Grok could have been wrong?
It will be very difficult because, again, the platform, which is Twitter or X, they're the same ones that developed what's called Grok AI. And of course, you cannot erase the history, right? I can change my username multiple times, but even Instagram has that feature. You're able to see, okay, this is the name that you were before, this is the name you are today, what the name evolution has been. So that is, it's going to be very difficult, practically impossible for Grok to be wrong on the transition of the name. Again, so I don't think that is possible because I think that the data around the username is clear and is more or less, it can be erased, as it were. But to the public, we can see that, oh, okay, the name has changed. If you don't know the account before, we won't know what had happened before. But from a back-end perspective, I think they're able to understand who or what the evolution of the name has been.
I'd like us to look at it from this aspect, especially looking at the fact that if many have discredited INEC Chairman from owning that account, I think it's also good that we enlighten Nigerians to understand the implications of this. I know we're going to look at it from the judiciary aspect of what would happen going forward, but is it possible for one to register an account? I mean, you're a tech guy here. Is it possible for one to register an account and do it without using a particular phone number? Is it possible to register an account without an email address? Is it also possible to register an account without an IMEI number? Because all these three have been highlighted and recognized and have been found in the aspect of, investigation.
I mean, you're required to have an email address. There's no way you can register, an X account without that email address. And of course, your IMEI number is linked to the phone that you used in doing that. And of course, your phone number sometimes also required. It depends on if you're meant to do, say, two-factor type authentication. So you have to put a phone number that allows them to send you a text or a WhatsApp chat to confirm that you're the person that is registering that account. So all of that is part of the onboarding process for anyone that is wanting to use a social media platform like X. So again, if all of those things, even I think that I saw someone even link the phone number to an OPay account that has the same name.
So like, okay,
it is more like a proof beyond reasonable doubt.
Slam dunk, yes.
Like, okay, this phone number is also the same number linked to the same account, and the name is the same. So I guess it's a no-brainer. I think that if I was INEC again, I would say, well, you operated the account before it became. I think that is a plausible explanation. Before he became INEC chairman, but today he's no longer operating the account and is not in charge, whatever that story might be. But to claim that he never owned the account, I think that's trying to make, a fool of Nigerians, and I think it's wrong.
Okay. So, I mean, from all indications, what you're saying is that INEC definitely understands that, or they know they're being coy, and that account was definitely Professor Joash Amiupitan's account.
From all indications, yes, it was.
Okay, so the question now would be, what would be the next steps? INEC has come out to flatly deny it and say they maintain their position.
They're going to arrest.
There hasn't been any clarity regarding the linking of phone numbers, the linking of email address, while the first account went private. But at what point would you say the first red flag, you spotted the first red flag?
The first red flag was actually when a presidential spokesman posted an INEC rebuttal.
Yeah,
So,
the press release.
What is happening here to say an independent agency, government agency, is being accused of something, and of course the spokesman to the president, who is meant to be, to be an interested party is the one representing or speaking on behalf
of INEC.
I thought that was a big red flag. I didn't think that should happen. Of course, INEC is claiming that, that wasn't the case, that the press, the statement was released by INEC first. But again, timestamp. This is not. Okay. Timestamp. He was the first person to post the statement. So we could. I don't think it is wise to try and change, especially when there's digital record of things that happen, right? It's not wise to try and suggest that people that saw things did not see it.
Do you think maybe it's a level of, permit me to use the word ignorance that we're seeing play out here? I think a lot of persons who have mobile devices, maybe those who are currently in high places, neglect or are ignorant of the fact that this thing called a mobile device uses what is called a digital footprint. If my internet is on, and of course I put my, I monitor where I'm going to at the same time, say possibly I put on my location, it will tell me exactly where I was 10 seconds ago and where I was 2 or 24 hours ago. Yeah. So I don't know if they understand that, because you just alluded to something. 23 hours. He posted that press release. 23 hours later, INEC posted as well. So him coming out to say, no, we didn't post differently. But people have gone online to track it. It's there, it's clear. Do you think ignorance is playing a big role here in destabilizing manner of thoughts and trying to run away from the truth?
Again, I'll be surprised that that ignorance is a problem here, because this is 2026, you know.
Maybe willful ignorance, you know, but you just feel...
You just think that you can just say something and just hope that no one checks, you know. Again, it's 2026. People have been fact-checking people for years now, right? So I don't know who suggests that.
And it's easier now.
It's a lot easier. I mean, this is even something that everyone could see. Someone tweeted earlier, you tweeted hours later, and you're claiming that you tweeted hours later, you're the first person to tweet. Come on, that's not... I mean, so how that, you know, whoever puts those statements out on behalf of INEC, I think the person is doing a very good job.
The person that's still on the statement that the INEC released, because it's bordering on criminality, and you have the expertise to help them investigate this. It's just that when you start the investigation, from what we know so far, it will still come back to INEC, and I hope they will take these punitive measures against the person it comes back to, because the statement says, beyond partisan mischief, the Commission is aware that cyber criminals may have been on the prowl, utilizing fake social media accounts in the chairman's name to defraud unsuspecting Nigerians. The statement says. It says, we wish to place it on record that several such fraudulent accounts have been identified and reported to security agencies in the past. The latest fabrication is a mere continuation of a criminal pattern aimed at exploiting the Commission's profile for illicit gains. He said several fake accounts using Mr. Amiupitan's name had previously been identified and reported to security agencies. And it says the electoral body is working with security agencies and cyber intelligence units to track down those responsible for the alleged identity theft and misinformation. Do you think the Nigerian police should come in at this point? And from what you know so far, if the cyber security department of the Nigerian security agencies step in, the Nigerian police force, where will this investigation lead to? And what should happen?
I mean, again, what they'll find, so it's possible to create an email address and create an account.
Yes.
Right? But if I move to say I'm linking the email address to a phone number, again, phone numbers are registered in Nigeria today. Yeah. Right? So it means that we know exactly who owns the phone number. So it's going to be practically impossible to have someone register with my phone number, because I have to confirm that phone number. So it means I have to get a text that I will have to open on my phone or on my device to verify that that account is mine. So I'm able to link a phone number to an email address to an X account. It's going to be difficult to convince me that this is done by criminal agency. Maybe you can claim that, oh, it's my young cousin. I use my phone number to register because, okay, my cousin has access to my phone, it can verify.
But does the cousin have access to your company account? Because the latest we saw this morning is that the phone number is equally linked to the company account, which belongs to the Senior Advocate of Nigeria. And he's the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, so you understand how important these claims are.
Well, again, the young cousin can have access to his phone.
Okay.
So whether the phone is on his, so if he has access to his phone, he can maybe verify an account somehow. That's probably a story that could have been explored or told, right? Okay, I don't know how this account was set up. It's my phone number, but again, I didn't set it up. Maybe someone close to me did, maybe someone, but to claim that this is some criminal organization and stuff, and of course, you can see your phone numbers linked to the account, or if your phone numbers are linked to the account, then of course, it's probably going to be a very difficult position to hold.
Well, INEC has come under fire. INEC has been under fire in the past weeks, especially with the drama involving the dissolvement or the de-recognition of the ADC leaders, where we saw that some key political figures within the party took to the streets. One of the placards we saw there was, they wrote INEC, where the I was a broom, indicating that INEC and APC have a relationship. But this morning, we're joined by an APC chieftain who's joining us virtually via phone. Chieftain, he's Dennis Oyakiri. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining. We know that you've been following this story, but let's get your reaction to this. There have been criticism against INEC, and there have been links. The APC has been linked to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Now, INEC's chair has also been, in a way, spoken for by the special advisor to the president. How do you respond to the drama and the accusations against INEC, and why the APC seems to be involved in this whole drama?
Good morning, viewers, and thanks for having me. I just want to say that I'm not a spokesperson for INEC, but I think we need to cast our mind back, from when Joash Amiupitan was appointed. Every effort has been made by the opposition to throw death at him, beginning from even his academic qualification. I recall back, people were saying, oh, how could he have become a lawyer without going through law for 4 or 5 years and all of that. And only recently, there is also the issue about him awarding degrees in the University of Jos. So at every point in time, you can see that the opposition is making every effort to throw dirt at Joash Amiupitan. And it's not a new thing. Let's look at all our electoral umpires from the time of Eshua all the way to Abel Gobadia, to Apata, to Maurice Iwu, Jega, and of course, Mahmoud. These are individuals who had made their marks in their professions, in their callings, until they became, INEC chairman. And then suddenly, one scandal or one thing or the other is being thrown at them. I think that the opposition should sit down and go and get ready for an election, rather than calling for something that will never happen. Okay. For us in APC, when we started the opposition march in 2014, 2013, it was a very well coordinated movement. We were not calling for the removal of any chairman of INEC. Rather, it was a purposeful move that saw the change of government. And you can also know that with this government, in 2023, we didn't focus on the electoral umpire. The focus was on the election. So my advice to the opposition is to go and prepare for election. Okay. And then, let's have it, rather than go for the umpire. In any case, talking about election and institutional credibility, there are the systems, you have the safeguards, and the outcome. Amiupitan alone will not sit in Abuja and decide the electoral outcome in the whole nation. So talking about institutional credibility of INEC, it is not tied to a personal tweet, one remote tweet somewhere. I mean, that is just accepting without conceding that indeed there was some tweet or so. So my own take on it is that the opposition should go and prepare for an election. Okay.
All right. We have a lot of questions to ask you. I know you said that during your own time, you didn't call for the INEC boss to be removed, but we do have a different view to that, because sometime in 2011, remember the APC, there were calls that the INEC boss is actually compromised. And then, of course, the late former president, Muhammadu Buhari, said if he doesn't win, the country will not be governable. I don't know if you remember those words. So APC did make such statements. It's quite different from what you've just said. But I also want to look at the severity of this issue. I know you said it's not something to look into. But let's go on a quick break. We'll beg you to please stay with us. When we come back, we'll look at some other questions we'd love to ask you. So please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here. We're looking at the major issue that's actually affecting Nigeria's 2027 elections. It's got to do with INEC and the revealing stories over the weekend that showed that there was an alleged account belonging to the INEC chairman, current INEC chairman, Professor Joash Amiupitan, which shows partisanship with the current ruling party. Our guest is in the studio, a tech professional who has been able to break down the digits and the numbers, looking at the footprint of the professor and his account. Also joining us, unfortunately cannot join us via video conferencing, but via telephone is Dennis Oyakire, who is an APC chieftain. Let me come back to you, Mr. Oyakire, if you can hear me. During your response, the first time, you said APC is not focused on, you've never called on INEC boss to resign, you've focused on working with the party, but I just want to put it to you that sometime in 2015, lead up to the elections, the former president, like I said before the break, had said that the then current INEC boss, Atairu Jaga, should resign. And these calls were indeed made loud. There are also video proofs on social media and other news outlets showing how these calls were made, that he has been compromised. I'd like you to look into that. Maybe that could be a correction to your initial statement that APC has never done so, just to put it into context that your party has done so in the past. And secondly, do you think this issue affecting the INEC boss should be trivialized? Do you see it as being a very serious issue, if at all?
Okay, yeah, okay. I take that back about not calling. Those are all the rhetorics, you know. But the point to be made, and which I actually wanted to make, is that the INEC chairman is not going to be removed, because there was a process following his appointment. It wasn't a sole decision of the president. It was a decision that was reached, you know, and approved by the Council of State. So the point to be made is that the biased or personal preference of an individual, you know, does not really invalidate the credibility of the institution. And that is accepting without conceding that there was a remote tweet somewhere. Unless we are looking for an angel, you know, from heaven to come and run our institution, people will have their preferences, people will have their remote leanings and so on. But at the end of the day, it is the systems, the safeguards that are put in place that, you know, will eventually lead to the outcome of an election. And I want to say that the greatest safeguards for election credibility, and indeed for the credibility of INEC, it's the political party. And that is why I am urging the opposition to get their acts together, organize very well, and begin to plan towards an election. The removal of Amiupitan is not going to take place. And the point I have made is that beginning from the time he was appointed, there has been every effort to throw dirt at him. I'm not an INEC spokesperson, but we need to look back at it. Yes, there might be some imperfections with respect to INEC. I will not sit here and deny all of that. But one thing I want to say clearly is that INEC has not systemically failed, and the processes are in place. And so I want to urge the opposition, get your acts together and go and prepare for an election.
Mr. Oyakere, you say that you're not INEC spokesperson, but critics would argue that in your defense or in your explanation, you may tend to sound like one. You say that the opposition should get its act together and that one random tweet, assuming without conceding, that there was one random tweet somewhere, it does not, speak to the integrity of INEC. But it's not just one random tweet. If you look online, it's a series of complaints and people linking not just that tweet to his account, linking it to his phone number, his email address, and even his bank account. So are you saying that if a ton of Nigerians express dissatisfaction in the idea of a total credibility of the INEC chairman, that should be swept away, especially looking at the fact that this INEC chairman was appointed by the sitting president? Do you mean that it should be totally disregarded as opposition antics?
The point to be made is that who by our constitution is supposed to appoint the INEC chairman? The president, of course. The president also consulting with the Council of States and all of that, they appoint, and that is what they've just done. And like I said, I'm not INEC's chairman spokesperson, but one thing I want to say very clearly, we often want to borrow a leaf, from the developed world. Do we really know and realize that in the United States of America, from where we got the presidential systems, election management agencies from state to state are run by the Secretary of State, who are partisan politicians. But they run these things because the systems have been put in place, and by our own election rules, each state has its own resident electoral commissioner. They are going to be states, we are going to have state returning officers, and who, from what Muhammad Jaga had put in place, they are going to be respectable academics that will turn in results all the way to Abuja. At what point, therefore, is Joash Amiupitan going to be the one that will be the sole determinant, of the election results? The point I'm making is that individuals will have their preferences, and that is the truth. You, as a journalist, you are sitting down as a journalist, but in your heart of hearts, as a citizen, you will go and vote on election day. You certainly will have that vote, but that is not to stop your duty as a journalist to invest, to bring to light all the discourse and all lies. And that's the point I'm making with respect to INEC and the INEC chairman.
Okay, so I want to push back on something you said real quick. In the process of answering my question, you started by explaining, of course, the procedure by which the INEC chairman is being appointed, nominated by the president, through the advice of the Council of State, and then sent to the Senate. My question is, there has been also criticism regarding the way in which the INEC chairman is being appointed. Many argue that it's a constitutional flaw that needs to be fixed in our electoral system in order to be able to guarantee free, fair, credible elections. Not just free, fair, but seen to be free and fair by majority of Nigerians. Do you agree with this point?
Okay, so for now, the process we have is the process that was followed. If you're talking of an improvement process, I am for improvement, because every system requires to examine itself and say, oh, what do we need to do for continuous improvements? Today, you look at the judiciary. The opposition to is throwing deaths at the judiciary and all of that. And this system of appointing judges to the High Court, to the appeal and all, is something that has been on for years.
But the fact that it's been on for years, does it mean that we should continue? Do you agree that...
No, I am saying I am in favor of continuous improvement. But at this point, we have a job to be done. We have an election to conduct. Let's get ahead and conduct the election. If we need to continuously improve on how election umpire are selected, why not? And the point I've also made is that we have looked at electoral umpires from the time of Ishwa to Eme Awa, to Abel Gobadia, to the famous Justice Ovie Whiskey. These are Nigerians that until they became INEC chairman, they had rock solid integrity in their professions, in their chosen career, until they become INEC chairman. Then we need to ask ourselves, do we need to import angels from heaven to be INEC chairman?
So, Mr. Yakire, just before we wrap up,
importing anybody from anywhere. Nigerians will have to sit.
As we wrap up this conversation, I'm going to ask you a very direct question. So, Nigeria is about to spend close to upwards of ₦1 trillion on an election, and the INEC chairman has been caught. He's making a denial, but the forensic trail shows that that account belongs to him. You've said admitting without conceding. Now that we've seen that he's partisan, and as an INEC boss, you should be seen to rise above partisan politics because of the sensitivity of the position he's holding. Are you saying that, you know, opposition and all well-meaning Nigerians that are concerned about the true independence of INEC should just relax, and since we're not going to get angels from heaven to supervise our elections, they should just go back to your tent, so Israel, and wait out and see the results of the elections? They shouldn't complain. They have no right to raise red flags with this discovery.
Where I said we should just relax. What I've just said is that
what would you propose they do?
While we are discussing the issues we are discussing, which we are doing now, we need to also look and examine the whole, take a look at the whole gamut of the process and say, where are we? When are we supposed to have these improvements, rather than come and say, oh, let us, bring down the house. And I did say that I am not an INEC spokesperson. I'm by no, and I have heard about the tweets and all of that. I'm not here to defend, Amiupitan, but I know that before, the system threw up a man, a scholar, an erudite scholar, a senior advocate, a lawyer, a professor, Amiupitan didn't just jump in here. Amiupitan has gone through processes. Lawyers in listening to me know that before you become son, there must have been a process. Before a professor is appointed in the university, in fact, before you even get a first degree. So the Joash Amiupitan didn't arrive in the scene overnight. And I need to say that consistently, efforts across when he was appointed has been made to throw debt. And I'm saying enough of all this debt throwing. Let us do what we need to do for nation building.
Mr. Yakire.
I still want to point us back to our INEC chairman from inception. They were gentlemen, they were men of integrity until they just became INEC chairman. Okay. Is it possible? Of course, we remember the 2015 Orubebe scenario, when a man like Professor Jega was being accused before the whole world for bias. But we know that these are the antics that political opposition players play. If they don't, if they see that the ball is not going, the game is not going their way, they go after the leg, they go after the man.
Okay, Mr. Yakire,
I think yes.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I wish we had more time to have this conversation. Unfortunately, the producer said we're trying to get you on so we could start early, but time is not our friend at this moment. Thanks for your thoughts, but please, we just want to highlight that this conversation is not about the opposition and the INEC boss. It's about Nigerians, technology, and the INEC boss. It has nothing to do with the opposition, and that's why we're bringing it here. And we have an expert who has touched on the technological aspect. Hopefully, if you have some more time, I would have asked what your social media handle is on X. I would have been able to check when you joined, And if you changed your name, I would have done everything now and tell it to you. It would seem like it's magic, but that's what technology does. Thanks for your time and thanks for joining us. Thank you. All right, as we wrap up the conversation, next steps.
Get your final thoughts.
Next step, I think it's political, right? Not technological, right?
The technology has done its part.
Technology has done its part. So the next step is political. So again, the president needs to decide what he has to do. Investigation needs to be done, conducted. I remembered when ministers are being vetted. I remember, I think DSS complained about one ministerial candidate, and of course ensured that that candidate never became a minister. So the same way I expected that when an INEC chairman is being appointed, the DSS should have done, all the background checks, check all through his profile to verify if there's something that could be seen as bias in person's past or profile, right? And of course, I also need to mention, right? Okay, so that for me is, I think, one of those core things. So two things are involved here. A decision by Professor Amiupitan himself to say, okay, well, am I going to, for the sake of national interest, step back or continue because I don't have anything to hide? Or the president saying that, okay, well, I think Nigeria doesn't need all this, stress about who an unbiased electoral official should be. Then we have to appoint someone else. Whether that is a political decision, not the technological conversation to have.
Thank you so much for speaking with us. Very interesting conversation. I'm sure this conversation doesn't end here. It will continue also on all social media spaces and different newspapers. We'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll go straight to the conversation that we had earlier on with our reporter joining us all the way from Borno State. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us. Let's move on now to our next conversation here on Breakfast Central. Let's tell you that no fewer than 30 people were reported to have been dead following the Nigerian Air Force airstrike that hit the Jili weekly market in Jili village along the border between Borno State and Yobe State on Saturday evening. Now, the strike allegedly was reportedly carried out during an operation targeting suspected Boko Haram insurgents on the Operation Hadinkai, striking a crowded trading center instead, causing panic and multiple casualties among traders and residents. A local councillor said over 30 deaths had been confirmed, with more than 20 injured and hospitalized, while eyewitnesses claimed the death toll could be higher as bodies were still being recovered. However, accounts remain conflicting, with some reports suggesting over 100 fatalities. Well, let's tell you as well that the Nigerian Air Force has deployed its civilian accident and investigation cell to probe the incident, stating that it is treating the allegations with utmost seriousness and empathy.
Authorities in Yobe State said the strike targeted insurgent positions, not civilians, while humanitarian groups, including Amnesty International, have condemned the operation and questioned its legality. Join us to discuss this development this morning is political analyst Zari Yusuf. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Yusuf, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning.
Now, what operational factors could have led to a military airstrike allegedly intended for insurgents ending up with some reporting civilian casualties, such as the Jili market in the Borno-Yobe border area? The Air Force has come out with videos and images saying they've targeted insurgents. The governor of the state, Professor Babagana Zulum, said the market has been closed for years, meaning they're not taking responsibility for any civilian deaths. So could you paint a clear picture of what happened 24 hours ago?
When the reports of, from, military quarters would tell you that there have been surveillance in the area, and I think they detailed a couple of attacks that, were traced to that place as planned, like the landmines they planted, the killing of their, personnel. Now, there is a certain background. There is a history we have with, military airstrikes on terrorist targets. Whether from Doma in Nasarawa State, whether in Tudumberi in Kaduna State, and the recent one. I am not one of those that believe that in all of those three cases, the Nigerian military is completely, incompetent of separating what civilian targets are with, terrorist targets. But it does seem like, because when you look at the history of the war against insurgency, much as they are terrorists, there are people among whom they enjoy a lot of sympathy. Let me explain my understanding of the attack that happened in Jilli with what just happened in Kwara State a couple of weeks ago, or months, where heavily armed terrorists approached a community and sought to be absorbed into the community, which would serve as a base for whatever attacks they will launch. And once the community refused to offer themselves as human shield, they executed hundreds of them and took hundreds also as, they abducted hundreds of them. Now, so we do have a pattern, or we have something that resembles an attempt to not just live in the bush as terrorists, but to hijack places that are either known as markets or isolated communities and live there, from where they launch attacks and they retire into such things. In all of the attacks that have happened, that people have come out to say, no, you killed civilians, the military will always explain to you that it took a while to follow intelligence, to study the pattern of it before they struck. But at a particular point in time, somebody will tell you they are civilians. If you have looked at the manner in which these Islamists move around, especially when it has to do with where the exchange of logistics take place, where they get food, where they collect cows, where they get motorcycles, where they collect fuels and all of that, they don't do it in so much isolation from either a civilian population or a place that used to be occupied by civilians. They have sacked many communities. Now, the governor will tell you that 5 years ago, the market was officially shut down. The reason is because of the heavy presence of these Islamists. Now, I do not know if civilians will engage in carrying out activities in such, markets. So my position with what happened was a strike that was intended to kill terrorists. I think it is more logical to assume that there might have been casualties or possibly civilians that were affected. I'm not really sure, but I am most certain that that attack was carried out on terrorists. Otherwise, official, authorities of the state will know, because they have been in the picture. So obviously, I do not think.
So when is Amnesty International and Reuters news agency are reporting upwards of 200, and they seem to be very sure that that they're civilians. So where might they be getting their own reports from? And who should we believe at this point?
Yes, let me be very clear with you with regards to Amnesty International and those the news outlets. Yes, they did say 200 or even more. You would remember that in Doma local government in Nasarawa state, there was an airstrike a couple of years ago. Much as it happened this way, the Nigerian military explained the time it took to study that environment and why it struck and the target it struck. But at some point, it was overwhelmed by reports such that comes from Amnesty International, and then a very speedy report from the United Nations that captured that attack as a genocide against Fulani people. But then for so many years, people would let you know, especially those around, those in Benue, that the most deadly attacks in Benue, the Islamists were traced from that place to launch the attack and retreated to that area. So what does seem to be happening is this, that they have created a scenario where they could strike and retreat into a certain kind of population, mostly theirs, that looks like just an ordinary civilian population. So it is making it impossible to basically kill them in mass. So once they escape a scene of attack, where they attack and they escape, it is difficult to look at them and say, these are terrorists. So it takes time to gather, intelligence before you launch that attack. Where they stay is not just a militarized zone. It's a place where they have women, where they cook, where they pray, where they do a lot of things like ordinary civilians do it. So I will not go with either Reuters or Amnesty International in this regard. The reason is because both military and civilian of late have suffered heavy casualties from the hands of these people, mostly in ambush. But the problem is that there is a pattern that the very moment the military heightens its aggression against these people, there are strong forces that condemn it. An example is you would find somebody like Sheikh Gumi also sharing a similar view that they were civilian targets. But if you look at his track record, you know he has always spoken on behalf of terrorists. And he has the opinion that they should not be killed. When they are bombed, he believes that it's a genocide. He believes they should be listened to. He believes what they deserve, what they demand should be done to them so that people live in peace. So when you have strong forces as such, looking at such aggression against terrorists, they will definitely classify them as civilians. So possibly those people were misinformed, or perhaps there is a conspiracy where those channels are just waiting. The very moment we realize they are taking out these people, we have to protect them. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. The resurgence of the killings in the northeastern part of the country is simply because they have thrived over these years, and they could actually deal deadly blow on the military and civilians and retire to a point where if you saw them, they would basically look like innocent people. It happened in Tudumburi, we saw it. The military insisted, these are terrorists, this is a terrorist target. But then because powerful politicians, especially of northern extraction, got involved in it and started paying condolence visits and all of that, they had to retract and say they made a mistake. But the question is, how is it possible that in every aggressive attack and every airstrike that kills a serious number of terrorists, there is always the story that they are civilians? I think it leaves more questions than answers. And I would take side with, the governor of, Borno State and the report that the military released that they are terrorists. But I will not also rule out the tendency that there might have, been, collateral damage. And I think the military should be sincere in that regard to look into it. But I'm very sure they didn't just look at the market puzzling and decided to kill innocent people.
Okay, so you're saying that the potential of civilians that were killed should be recognized as collateral damage. Is that it?
Let me put it this way. There is a chance, like I gave an example of Kwara State. There is a chance they have people who not necessarily out of their will, either as what do you call them? Either as abducted people or people they have forced to live with them as human shield and all that.
Captives.
Well, maybe that might not have been the word I should have used. But what I'm saying is that there could have been. I'm not ruling out the possibility of civilian casualties. That's just the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
Let me not use that particular term so we don't begin to go around about it. There is a possibility of civilian casualties, and the military should be sincere in that regard, especially having sent a fact-finding team there.
All right, Zari Yusuf, thank you very much for joining us and speaking to that. We'll continue to follow the story and wait to see what the military says, and if, like you said, they should admit to those who may have been hurt in the process of this operation. Thank you for your time with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we're going to break, and when we come back from this break, we have more to discuss this morning on Breakfast Central. Please stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Let's take a look at the top stories on Breakfast headlines. Let's begin with the conflict in the Middle East, where United States President Donald Trump says the United States Navy will block all vessels attempting to enter or exit the Strait of Hormuz after talks with Iran failed. Trump claims negotiations broke down in Islamabad over Iran's refusal to abandon its nuclear ambitions, adding that no agreement was reached during the high-level discussions. The Strait of Hormuz remains a critical global oil route as diplomatic efforts continue alongside rising regional tensions involving Israel and Lebanon. Well, let's circle back to Africa, where citizens of the Republic of Benin went to the polls on Sunday to choose their next president, the first leadership change the country has seen in a decade. Polls opened at 7 a.m. and have now closed. The Nigerian military has defended a deadly airstrike as well, away from that story in Benin Republic, on Jili village market near the Borno-Yobe border amid growing outrage over reported civilian casualties. Authorities insist a strike carried out under Operation Hadinkai targeted an enclave linked to the fighters of the Islamic State West Africa province. Military officials describe the location as a logistics hub and convergence point for insurgents. However, local sources claim more than 40 civilians may have been killed, with figures still unclear due to conflicting reports. The development has drawn criticism from community leaders and rights groups. According to Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, the operation followed sustained intelligence and surveillance tracking suspected movements of terrorists in the area. An update on that story has it that Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has defended the Nigerian military following reports of civilian casualties from an airstrike in Jili Gubio local government area. In a statement, the governor said the Jili market had been shut down 5 years ago due to its alleged use as a hub for insurgents and a logistics network. He stressed that both Jili and nearby Gazabura markets were officially closed as part of counterinsurgency measures. Zulum added that the state government remains in close coordination with security agencies and the Yobe state government. He reaffirmed his administration's commitment to civilian safety, urging residents to stay vigilant and support military operations with credible intelligence. Survivors of the recent airstrike at the Borno-Yobe border market in Dili are now receiving medical care at the State Specialist Hospital in Maiduguri. Hospital officials confirmed that at least 21 victims have been admitted with varying degrees of injuries, including burns and fractures. The patients were evacuated by emergency responders and local volunteers shortly after the incident. News Central's Umaru Kirawa is currently at the facility where treatment is ongoing and medical teams continue to monitor the condition of the survivors. In a related development, the African Democratic Congress has announced that it will inaugurate its newly elected state executives and chairman on May 12, 2026. The party says the inauguration date may still change depending on the decision by its National Working Committee following state congresses held in parts of the country, including Osun and Anambra states. Party spokesman Bolaji Abdullahi says the elections reflect internal democracy and adherence to party rules despite ongoing leadership disputes. The development comes amid tensions within the party after the Independent National Electoral Commission withdrew recognition of its leadership, triggering factional divisions and legal uncertainty. Let's tell you that stakeholders in Nigeria's agricultural sector say stronger collaboration between the public and private sectors is critical to overcoming challenges such as climate change, soil degradation, post-harvest losses, and limited access to finance. At an annual workshop attended by government officials, industry leaders, and smallholder farmers, participants say that scaling up agricultural output requires deeper commitment and sustained innovation from all the stakeholders.
We must acknowledge that the challenges before us, climate change, soil degradation, post-harvest losses, and limited access to finance, require even stronger collaboration, require stronger innovation and commitment from all stakeholders.
The government over the years has put a lot of efforts in agricultural transformation. That has yielded fruits, but not at the scale that we really need to create transformational impact. And therefore, the private sector needs to come on board.
South Africa's second largest political party, the Democratic Alliance, has elected Jordine Hill-Lewis as its new leader ahead of the 2029 national elections. Hill-Lewis, who currently serves as mayor of Cape Town, secured the position following a party congress aimed at strengthening its national appeal. The leadership change comes as the party intensifies efforts to expand its voter base and challenge the dominance of the ruling African National Congress, which has faced declining support in recent years. Hill-Lewis pledged to lead with responsibility and focus on delivering effective governance. Analysts say his leadership could shape the opposition strategy as South Africa approaches a highly contested electoral cycle.
Sincere thank you to each and every one of you, all the delegates of the Democratic Alliance, for placing your trust in me. I accept this responsibility with humility, with gratitude, and with a deep sense of duty. I stand before you as your newly elected leader with one promise. However long I have the privilege of serving in this job, I will be dedicated to the mission of building a stronger South Africa for everyone. So let us take hands with one another now. Let's go out from this place to every corner of our beautiful country, and together, let us build a country that works. Thank you, DA. Thank you, South Africa. Let's build a country that works.
And that's all we have for you on Breakfast Headlines. Don't forget to tune in at 12, or rather, just stay with us because we have a lot in store. You can get more stories, news, and the latest reports on the go. I'm Joe Hansen. Coming up next will be the front pages of the newspapers here on Breakfast Central. Do stay with us.
Nigeria is not just failing its children. Nigeria is manufacturing a crisis. According to UNICEF, Nigeria has between 18.9 million and over 20 million out-of-school children, the highest number anywhere in the world. Let that sink in. That means 1 in every out-of-school children globally is Nigerian. This is not just a national embarrassment, it's a global scandal. Even more alarming, at the primary school level alone, over 10.2 million children are out of school. And it gets worse. Only 1 in 4 Nigerian children aged 7 to 14 can read a simple sentence or solve basic arithmetic. So even those in school are not learning. What exactly are we doing? In parts of northern Nigeria, the crisis is catastrophic. In states like Kano, Katsina, and Jigawa, hundreds of thousands of children are out of school, contributing 16% to the national burden. In the northeast and northwest, more than half of girls are not in school. Half! That is not just inequality, that is generational sabotage. And why is this happening? Because insecurity has turned schools into targets. Because poverty has turned classrooms into luxuries. Because governance has turned urgency into rhetoric. Today, 2 out of every 3 Nigerian children live in multidimensional poverty, lacking education, healthcare, and basic dignity. This is the pipeline. Out of school, into poverty, into crime, into instability. And then we act surprised when insecurity spreads. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. Every child out of school is not just a victim. They're a potential recruit for chaos in a system that abandoned them. And here is the uncomfortable truth. A nation that leaves nearly 20 million children behind cannot move forward. Nigeria is sitting on a powder keg, and the fuse is already lit. So I ask again, where's the emergency response? Where is the political will? Where is the national outrage? Because this is no longer just an education crisis. It's a national security crisis. It's an economic crisis. It's a present and future crisis. Good morning, Nigerians. Who gave you the right?
It's time for newspaper review. Meg, I don't know who is bail prefect, but
who is going to bail the cat?
Well, to bail the cat today, we have a globally recognized journalist who will be helping us reviewing the newspaper as well as bailing the cat. Mr. Habib Barono, good morning.
Mr. Habib Barono, good to see you.
I want to give you esteemed mega greetings this morning.
Before we start, because that Which Way Nigeria did is quite humbling.
Yes.
And oftentimes I see convoys of VIPs, you know, scurrying, moving around. There was even a fight in Bielsa over the weekend.
Yeah, the soldiers.
One of those convoys. We'll talk about it later. But you need to see the urgency. Like our VIPs are always in a rush. The other day they were in Lagos, you know, sirens here and there. Why are they rushing to fix our problems? Because I don't see that urgency in the state of out-of-school children. In Nigeria, 20 million is bigger than the population of the Netherlands and Belgium combined together. That's multiple
countries. Don't even go there. The elite in this country, particularly the political actors, they are not in a hurry to fix anything. They are in a hurry to protect their interest.
They are in a hurry to promote and protect their interest. That's a sobering verdict on
no, they are not ready to. Because we look at the way they live their life, the way they they flaunt their riches, you know, on our faces. You know that they are not in a hurry to face challenges facing the country. You see, when I listen to this year, we show Nigeria every Monday, you are painting a picture that is not good for our country. In every sector that you are discussing.
I'm not the one painting.
No, that you are raising, issues you are raising. Okay. You are raising an issue. You are putting your platform, you are raising an issue that should bother all of us. This one you have just raised this morning is very concerning and disconcerting. You see, when Jonathan was there, President Jonathan, when he was there, he did everything to improve this Almajiri, instead of establish these Almajiri schools across the north. But the people, Buhari did not follow suit. Buhari did not improve on it. No country toys with the education of its children. That is the future of the country. You know, so if you have 20-something million who are not in school, then look at the issues you raised. They naturally...
It's a national security risk.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so, and they will be able soldiers, able foot soldiers. For this insurgents, yes. So if something is not done, and as I said, we are sitting on a keg of what do you call it? Gunpowder. It should be addressed adequately and on time.
Yeah,
and
the urgency. Urgency.
These people are busy buying exotic cars to
traditional rulers.
Instead of addressing core issues that affect them.
And building airports.
You need those while
the roads are not even...
The school did not know what I'm talking about. I school did not.
I schooled in the north, in Zaria.
When you are eating, these guys will be waiting for you. If you stop for a minute, they'll take over the food. Sad. It's that bad. They are everywhere in the north. And nothing is being done to address it. You know,
what's worse is the fact that, I mean, I'm reading a comment on YouTube. Charles Dennis says, every out-of-school child is a potential recruit against the system that abandoned them. And that's fact. We're talking about increase in number of out-of-school children. And you look at the Boko Haram recruits, a number of them are young children. And it's just so sad that the more we have these out-of-school children, the more we're putting ourselves at risk. But let's get into the papers this morning. Before we do, to mention that you can join us. We're streaming live via YouTube, News Central TV Live, where you can drop your comments reacting to any of the stories, and we take comments from YouTube. We're also opening the phone lines officially to hear from you, the audience. But let's get into our first paper this morning. And our first paper this morning is the Nigeria... Okay, let's start with the Daily Trust. It's the least populated paper, and then we can move on to the others. NAF jet kills over 200 civilians. Jili market closed 5 years ago, says Zulum, the governor of Borno State. And we're seeing, in a way, some sort of conflicting report. INEC chair linked to X account calls for resignation grow. ADC holds convention tomorrow, releases fresh committee list. Fuel price, collapse of US-Iran talks dashes Nigeria's hope. Bandits displace 39 Kaduna communities. Maybe we should start with the NAFJET story, because that is the big story on all the papers this morning. Because if you look at the Nigerian Tribune, you still see it on the front page of Nigerian Tribune. Borno-Yobe border airstrike. Why we struck, military says. To investigate reports of civilian casualties. Zulum-backed military says markets closed 5 years ago. CISLAC, TI condemned strikes. Calls for immediate probe. And the final one, if you also look at this Nigerian newspaper, that big story says, deadly misfire, NAF probes Yobe airstrike, scores killed. Military says terrorists' main target. Amnesty International orders demand thorough investigation. Let's get your thoughts on, you know, these killings. While on the one hand, they're saying that it's the terrorists that were targets. There are claims that civilians were caught in the crossfire at the Jili market. But the governor of the state is saying that market has been closed for 5 years. And this morning, we had our correspondent join us. He was at the hospital where some of the civilians had maybe loved ones who were there, you know, people who had come for treatment. And those people, you couldn't assume that they were terrorists, because if they were terrorists, of course, you will see the presence of the military around. But, you know, we didn't get that sense. But let's get your thoughts about it.
Did you read the military report on it? The military defense headquarters report. Did you read it?
Yeah. Yes, we did.
I already did this morning. Very, very comprehensive. Very comprehensive, you know, on why they went there. They've been doing the surveillance over time, got to know that some of the terrorists were assembling. That is a passage, is a meeting point of terrorists where they buy their things, and they normally pass through that area to attack. So read the Defense Headquarters report on it, very comprehensive and convincing too. So the story of
but that's one.
I'm not. No, wait, please wait. Let me land. Let me land. We should not be too. I don't like people rushing to report what is not real. You know, you are talking about how many civilians? 200 civilians. No, that is not true. Punch said 30. Some people are saying 70. You cannot be, people should not be rushing to judgment and to write report. Verify your fact. Let's get the fact right. Let's get the figure right. If you don't get the facts right, you are filling the public with misinformation, something that is not true. You know, and the governor is saying, the governor of the state, that same market is a Gili market between the border of Yobe and Borno. That Gili market has been closed down for 5 years. So what were they doing there? But you see, the man was not justifying it. He was not telling you that. What were the people doing there? So, and I was telling you guys here on last week Monday, that why is it this thing takes place on Sundays? On Sundays.
You said what were the people doing there?
So
the Nigerian Constitution guarantees you freedom of movement.
Yes.
I don't think the
No. What the man is saying is that there is no market there. Market has been they've stopped it. They've abolished the market. The market has been stopped
for 5 years
because that exit, that transit point, is a very delicate area. That's why people will pass to.
Can I respond to what you said? Please. Because the reports that they put on social media did not admit. They did not admit, neither did they deny that civilians were caught in the crossfire. What they said was, post-strike assessment confirmed that the target area was struck with high accuracy, resulting in the destruction of the identified terrorist logistics enclave. Scores of terrorists were neutralized in the strike, with their vehicles and technicals destroyed, while surviving elements were observed fleeing in multiple directions. Intelligence further indicates that the neutralized elements were in the final stages of receiving logistics from couriers for coordinated attacks on troop locations within the Gubbio axis. This decisive action has therefore significantly disrupted imminent terrorist plans and degraded their operational capability within the theater. And we applaud the military for helping us in this fight.
They should be applauded. They should be
thoroughly appreciated.
Appreciated.
But what this is lacking is whether or not civilians were hurt in the process.
See, let me tell you that there is always casualties in this kind of enterprise. If you look at the Israelis' war in Gaza, the Israelis will tell you that the Hamas people operate let me land now.
An extreme case.
Let me land. That Hamas people operate in the midst of civilians. So there's no way they will avoid killings of innocent civilians. So what we saw yesterday, we've not known what happened. Yes, let them investigate it. Let them investigate. But military they've not agreed, accepted that.
The military,
civilians. And the governor too, who normally will come out and condemn what happened, said there's no market there. No market that is known by government to be there. So all these things, and if you look at the way people are reacting with emotions, not on facts.
But it's
I will not support the killings of innocent civilians.
Yes, exactly.
I won't do that. But let's get our facts right. And the fact remains that the military, they attack these people. These people operate in a very funny way.
We understand.
So if people die by mistake, people die by mistake, then
collateral damage.
Unfortunately, absolutely.
No,
let's applaud our military. Let's appreciate what they are doing.
Oh, we applaud them.
Nigerians appreciate the efforts of our military. And we also feel that every civilian death, that innocent civilian death, is a tragedy, and they should do their utmost best to avoid such situations. And I think it's quite not too sensitive when you just easily dismiss them as collateral damage. I mean, this market has been closed for 5 years. If the military did not expressly say that the coordinates of this area, you are expressly forbidden from hanging around or doing your business.
No, the governor said.
How are we sure that
the governor said
everybody that was neutralized there is an enemy company?
No, if you look at the report very well,
they deserve to die.
No, they deserve to die. They don't use that kind of word.
Yeah.
But you. No. What I'm telling you is that the military said people were killed after they did their intelligence work. and their soldiers on ground have already tell them that yes, there are some enemies within the territory, within that particular jurisdiction. So they now attacked. It's possible that people died by mistake, and it should be acknowledged, which is not, it's not right. But the governor of the state came out immediately and said, I'm in touch with what is going on, I've been briefed, and I'm telling you that that particular area it's not a market. The market has been closed down for 5 years. So what are we talking about?
So anybody caught in the crossfire?
If it's an illegal area, what are you doing there?
Okay.
So we don't know that it's been, it's been called.
The governor of the state said that place has been shut down for 5 years. 5 years. What are you doing there?
Does that mean that it's illegal?
For 5 years.
Does that mean that they shut it down as a market?
Yes.
Does it mean that people can't?
No, you can operate, but if people are going there, they're marketing. It's a Sunday market. They went there to market, and those people use that avenue to do their deals, to sell ammunition, or to exchange ammunition, and to attack Nigerians. So they can't be looking at them now. Let's get this for a try, please. Nobody is justifying death of civilians. But what I'm saying is that the governor of the state, who has the security report, came out and said, no, I've been briefed that these people that were killed should not have been there. But those people that were killed were terrorists and bandits, not burning people.
All right.
Let's get the fact right, please. So the idea of jumping to town, going to town with this kind of report is wrong and should not be encouraged.
All right, let's move to the next conversation, the next paper. Like we mentioned, the phone lines are officially open. If you have thoughts about this story or any of the others on the front page, please call the numbers on your TV screen. Let's now get to this Nigerian newspaper. On the front page of This Nigeria, away from the big story, which we've already discussed, Nigeria's fiber expansion received AFDB's $200 million facility boost. Abdurrahman Anyawu's NWC takes effective charge of PDP Secretariat as Turaki Group kicks. Oil output drops to 1.51 million barrels per day in February as NNPC remits 1.804 trillion naira.
That's massive.
Massive. ADC INEC fight heats up polity. Party defies electoral body, organizes Congress polls amid internal squabbles across state. Supreme Court hears Mark's suit on Tuesday. But I want us, we've touched on that, but there are more stories to discuss quickly on the Nigerian Tribune. The front page of the Nigerian Tribune, top left corner, ADC crisis, Supreme Court hears David Mark's appeal tomorrow. Party insists on holding convention tomorrow. Updates committee's list. So this is, the church is marching on, the gates of hell shall not be.
It's reminiscent of Ibadan convention of the PDP.
And then later on, they now did Abuja. Olubadan.
We won't end up in the same state.
I think the media should not overblow the crisis in ADC. The democracy dies in darkness. The media should put light
into it.
Into these things, yes, not fanning the embers of division that the ruling party is trying to project. I don't think there's a crisis in ADC.
So what's happening?
It's been overblown.
What's happening?
One man that was the vice chairman, that was president when Mark executive was sworn in, is causing confusion. And we all know what is going on.
So it's the media that is putting him in such a high pedestal.
The media is overblowing it. I'm a journalist now. The media is overblowing it. And by tomorrow, hopefully, Supreme Court will meet and fix a date for the judgment.
Let's hear what Steve
I don't think it's a big deal like that.
Because Nigeria judgment will come before the convention.
Nigeria needs an opposition party.
Which one came first?
Egg or the chicken?
Nigeria needs an opposition party that is strong enough to challenge the APC.
Good morning, Stephen. Thanks for calling. You're joining us from here in Lagos. Please go ahead with your comments.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Please go ahead with your comments.
Thank you. Yeah. First of all, it is an old saying that says, first of all, it's an old saying that goes, stubborn flies do follow corpses into the grave. When that market was shut down 5 years ago, the governor of the state has the authority, and it can't be doubted. Now, there are some stubborn civilians that know that that very place is a hub of terrorist activity. And still, as stubborn as they will go there for what they will gain. So whatever happens to them, happens to them. We cannot say because of those stubborn civilians, the authorities should not engage the terrorists.
Thank you very much. I think,
I think we got the
comments.
we get the point.
Yeah, we get the point of your
is,
points. But please turn down the volume of your TV set next time.
if GG Market had been highlighted as a place of particular concern, let me borrow that word, and then the governor 5 years ago said, listen, let's do away with this area. Yeah. The military report suggests that that place is a space where these insurgents, these terrorists, use as
a launching pad.
Exactly. Their launching pad where they store, they prepare in order for them to attack. And they've done what they need to do, which is clear the place. There's also a different sentiment to this story, which I don't want us to dwell too much on because we have a lot of stories to look into that. Our last guest had highlighted it, that whenever it's time that the military attacks the insurgents and gets them, you have apologists who are supporters of the terrorists coming out to say, oh, no, you've killed people.
Human rights.
Correct.
Human rights, and then you go to amnesty and so on. So there's back and forth. The point is, I think at this point, if the governor has come out to say, listen, I support the military for what they've done, then maybe we should start listening to one voice, which happens to be the governor's voice, because he has been at the forefront fighting this insurgency non-stop, you know. And if he has come out to say, yes, this is a very good one, that place was shut down 5 years ago, I mean, I think
that was why I asked you guys, have you read the Defense Headquarters report?
We have.
Very comprehensive, very comprehensive. And only read some part of the story here. Very comprehensive. And the governor came out and said, I've been briefed by both my officials and the security. This is what happened. What were they doing there? That if it's true that civilians were killed, what are they doing there? So I don't think it's a...
Uche calls us this morning.
Uche from Abia. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Uche.
Yeah, for clarity's sake, let me ask you people. Are you hearing the closure of the market from the governor? Or have the market, when they close the market, we are there publicity for people? Or you are just hearing it for the first time from the governor that the market has been closed for 5 years? That is the question I'm asking you people as a journalist. God bless you people.
Did you get the question?
Yes, I got the question.
So are we just hearing for the first time that these markets are closed from the governor, or did we hear it 5 years ago?
No, nobody has come out to refute that the market was not closed down. The governor is telling you that I closed down the market because of the strategic...
on its face value.
Yes, the market is... That place is playing, giving the terrorists undue advantage. I will close it down, to shut it down, so they will not use it to operate. And now people went there yesterday for obvious reasons, and the military were targeting the terrorists, and unfortunately some people were killed. So I don't think we should overstress it.
So I think the point he's trying to make is he might not believe this because this is a fresh statement. So from Uche's perspective, it would be that he's pushing the argument that this is a statement after the fact. I'm wondering why was it not public knowledge?
No. They can't close down the market if it's not public. 5 years ago, I'm sure it will be known to people of Borno.
Maybe people forgot.
Yeah.
You know human nature.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Okay, I want
the first caller to me was more...
So if you're in Borno State, or you live there, or you lived there, or you have family there, this would be a good time to let us know what the position is regarding the chili market.
Correct.
Were you aware about the closure of the market? And also, give us a true picture of what happened, if you can, from the first-person perspective. I want us to talk about the story of INEC Chair. Back to the Daily Trust that we started with, that says, INEC Chair linked to X account calls for resignation group. And I want you to analyze this story because, first of all, there was a post put by the APC National Youth Chairman, Youth Leader, Dayo Israel, on X in 2022, talking about winning their polling units and all. At that time, the account named Professor Joash Amiupitan responded, saying victory is sure. These tweets were dormant for years and were resurfaced some days ago. And the criticism was that why is the INEC chairman tweeting in support of the All Progressives Congress, in support of the president, when he's meant to be an unbiased and a completely neutral party? And INEC has come out to deny this, saying that it's not their account. But that account, the name was changed. the account was locked. So it looks like they have something to hide. We had an expert join us this morning, and he said it's almost impossible that Grok will be lying because they asked Grok to verify the identity of the account to show us the history.
X's AI tool.
Yes, X's AI tool. And Grok said this account belongs to Professor Joash Amiupitan. The name was changed some days ago, blah, blah, blah. So now INEC is in the eye of the storm, and the integrity of not just Joash Amiupitan, but even the presidency that elected Joash Amiupitan has been a core of the conversation. But I'll get you to react to that. Let's take a call from Chinedu, calling from, I believe, Abuja. Good morning, Chinedu. Thank you very much for calling.
Sandra Creek. So I'm still dialing back to the Borno-Yobe border.
Chinedu, we're struggling to hear you.
I can't hear you, Chinedu.
Okay, I want to dial back to the Borno-Yobe border NAF airstrike. Did you get that?
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. So what I'm saying, I think journalists need to interrogate this a bit further. There are reports that anybody selling in that market pays a tax to these terrorists. Anybody buying in that market pays a tax to these terrorists. And that is why that market was closed down. It's not just enough to say that NAF came there and bombed the market. You need to have a crew down there to interrogate these issues properly. Speak to the people probably in that vicinity. They are paying certain Islamic taxes or whatever to these terrorists to put up stalls there and shop. And equally, when they are done buying and selling, you pay another tax again. So these are the issues. It's not just enough to say the Air Force has gone there and bombed civilians. There's a reason why the market was shut down. Thank you very much.
Comment. And following up to what he said, Olayinka Owosoji on YouTube says, did the government provide an alternative for the people when the market was shut down? Saying that if you're calling them stubborn civilians, was there an alternative? Then in response to the question that Mr. Habib Aruna is about to answer, Parasamako says, in a normal country, the chairman of an electoral commission with scandal would have resigned. To open a social media account, you need an email and a phone number. Just to add to that, they've been able to link the email and the phone number to Professor Joash Amiupitan, to his account, one of his bank accounts, according to the social media investigators. And we had an expert who joined us on the show and said it's almost impossible for that to be a lie. But let's get your thoughts.
So, people are raising genuine concern about the partiality or otherwise of the INEC chairman. If it's confirmed that he's the owner of that account, then his integrity will be in question. But we need to make sure that it can be verified that it's truly his account. But not ask yourself, scratch the surface. Where were these people when the man's name was penciled down to be the chairman of INEC? Where were they?
Before the Senate confirmation.
Where were they? These are the issues that you raise to stop the confirmation. Not when the train has left the station. You're not raising problem. Now, even if this man is removed, the president will still anoint appoint another person. So we need to be careful with all this.
But based on principle of equity, fairness, and impartiality, that is required for the office.
According to our law, we appoint the other chairman, which is wrong, in my view. The National Assembly should be the body, or the judiciary should be the body to appoint other chairman. Because to pretend elections in Nigeria is very, very critical. But our future. Now the president appointed. The man went to, as usual, Akpabio's Senate, and it was confirmed. I mean, people are not raising eyebrow. Those should have been done. We all have history. I have history.
Could it be that
we all have history?
Could it be that they knew they were just waiting for it to be the truth?
No, this issue should have been raised before now.
But there's a possibility
let's confirm it. We should not jump to
they may
conclusion.
not have done this digging at that time, because it's not like it was a tweet he put out.
Yeah,
it was a response
responding
to Dayo Israel's tweets. So it wasn't an original tweet he put out. They may have checked his tweets and seen nothing. And maybe somebody somewhere was one day playing around Dayo Israel's tweets.
But does it really matter?
And saw it.
Because we're looking at the position that you need to have one of the highest levels of integrity and impartiality. I do know we're human beings, but that's why we have judges in courts that are seen to be above board. So that now that he's been, forensically caught red-handed, that the account is linked to him, what should be the appropriate next steps?
But that's why I said, if it's confirmed that he actually owned that handle, then it will be difficult for him to prove his impartiality in the future.
I just want
but let's get the fact right that it truly belongs to him.
Okay. I just want to check something.
As I said, if this man is removed eventually, who becomes the next chairman appointed by the president? So there's a problem with the appointment and the way the guy is.
The point is, should it be confirmed that he is culpable or he owns that account, he's guilty, Nigerians and the presidency will have to choose between one that would determine a lot as a country, as a nation. Are we going to stick to integrity? Are we going to just say it doesn't like...
Let's manage it. After spending almost 1 trillion
about to spend 1 trillion. Are we going to say, let's follow integrity? Or we're going to say, no, it doesn't matter, let's go on? Because a member of the APC joined us and started reading out names
said there are checks and balances.
People, checks and balances. But let me just confirm something. November 2017, there's a name that joined X, November 2017. The name of that account is Habib Live Again. You know that account?
Absolutely, that's mine.
Aha. So I was able to get when you joined X. Am I right? You joined November 2017. Abi?
Absolutely.
So if digital technology shares that...
You can't lie with this thing. So
does that not point to something? And the response that INEC has said, INEC had described the claims as fabrications and vowed to pursue those responsible for impersonation or circulation of misleading material. But the critics are saying, no, there's digital footprint. So is INEC even responding in the right way? Is it not supposed to, if Nigerians are showing you proof, your explanation should be to counter each of these allegations with your own hard facts to say,
but does it mean that
and this is a lie?
Does it mean that
also shock you,
as a Nigerian, you
actually use an Android phone?
That's what it means?
For Professor Joash Amiupitan.
You got an opinion.
Mr. Bieber, I don't know.
As an INEC chairman.
That thing was sent when?
Before he became an INEC. So the question is, shouldn't a better approach to that maybe should have been, oh yes, that was my account, because those are some of the points we've seen. That he should have admitted and said the truth and said, at that time I was a member of the party. Now,
but you know that's
not necessarily a member of APC.
At that time I was in support of the party.
For APC.
But now I'm neutral.
Party for APC
but that argument still wouldn't have
and the way I speak, you know, I'm very objective.
So when you say a person, yes, you are. But when you say a person can be neutral, because you understand that this is a very sensitive matter. Our democracy is still very, very sensitive.
I don't know why people are raising this issue.
Why?
It's because the way the INEC chairman has been operating.
Especially with the issue regarding the
ADC. That's what I'm saying. So we need to be very careful. Well, that's why I said we don't only need to show it, we demonstrate it.
Well, Habib Live again.
Nigerians want a free and fair elections, not only on election day. The process that leads to that election must be transparent, credible, free and fair.
All right, we will reach out to...
demand.
Just to alert as a wrap-up, Habib Live Again account, owned by Mr. Habib Arona, you joined in November 2017. You've changed your name 3 times. 3 times. And you used an Android phone to join this account. Case closed.
Anyway.
I'm not safe. I'm not safe.
Your big game.
We're going to reach out to INEC to come and explain to us exactly what they have to say to counter these claims. And we're hoping that INEC will receive this invitation and join us on the show tomorrow. But let's close the curtains here. Thank you very much to our virtual audience. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.